Hi everyone, Dad Boy here. So, one of my favorite things about listening and enjoying music in a nerdy, sort of enthusiastic way, I guess, is the ability to come up with lists. Whether it's listing out your favorite memorable projects of the year or just the bad, like painfully, atrociously bad ones that you just wanna shove to the void of memory and forget about them forever. But for most of the time, like the truly bad ones are too very memorable. But I guess that's also the interesting thing about them. But anyway, with all that said, here I am bringing you guys my favorite 25 releases, 25 very good albums that I think are actually the best of 2022. Also, I'd like to keep the workload light this year since I'm not like fully accustomed to pumping out lots and lots of videos, especially like very, I guess, densely packed with stuff ones like this. I'll be trying to work on more lists for the coming year of 2023. Yeah, that's probably all I need to get out of the way. And before getting into this list, do I think this list is perfect? Am I like entirely happy with it? No, not really, just 80%, because there's like this 20% of project that I have not checked out that I think would have easily made it to this list. And also, I have not listened to as many 2022 projects that are exclusively released this year. Therefore, I had to keep this list very concise at 25 picks, because anything moving past the number 25 is all hazy, and my thoughts and logic are all jumbled up. I don't think that will make for a good experience for me as well as you guys. So with that said, I still think this is a quite solid list, and I'll just give it to you guys so you guys can judge for yourself. With number 25, I have Hyperdimensional Expansion Beam by The Comet Is Coming. This is just a great new jazz album that makes a good study/work companion. And yeah, that's my number 25. At number 24, we have Kenny Beats with his very enjoyable, very catchy, very sweet instrumental hip-hop album, LOUIE. And coming in at number 23, we have a relatively new band that I have not heard of before. That is Asuno Joke and their album Island. And this album pretty much just sounds like a Japanese Deaf Heaven project. So if Deaf Heaven is the kind of sound that you like, if black gaze and screamo is kind of your thing, then be sure to check this album out. So yep, and my number 22 pick will be Freddie Gibbs, Soul Sold Separately. And while this thing is no piñata, but it's still fucking Freddie Gibbs, still incredible, still a great hip-hop album. And if you're trying to get into like Gibbs music, Mr. Gibbs music, I wouldn't recommend this album as a starter, but it's still a great album to check out anyway. And at number 21, we have Lupe, Fiasco, and his album Drill Music in Zion. I think this is a just great conscious hip-hop with like a few track with some really sweet female leading vocals, and an overall very interesting and really just enjoyable experience. And I guess one of the very few interesting facts about this album is that it is recorded in like just a few days, I think, made on GarageBand if I remember correctly, and recorded through a $100 USB microphone. And for the context around like how it's made, this thing sounds surprisingly good, and it's very surprising indeed. Check it out. So yep, we have gone through like 1/5 of the list so far. For at number 20, rock bop enjoyers are gonna love this one. I have Air Guitar by Sobs, and yeah, it's just a rock banger after a rock banger after a rock banger project, and with some shoegaze flair to it too. Yeah, if that sounds like your thing, then there you go. And at number 19, which is also like a banger-packed release, I have Wormrot with their album Hiss. I think this is, something that grindcore fans cannot possibly skip this year. It's just that good, so give it a go if you haven't already. Moving on to number 18, we have Ashenspire and their sophomore album Hostile Architecture. And let me just say, I think the band's name sounds straight up like a location out of a Souls game. Honestly, the music sounds really atmospheric, all the string sessions and saxophones. Oh my god, it's just atmospheric at times and harrowing, and it's just all sorts of feelings that revolves around like the scary ones specifically, and the lyrics are especially depressing. Yeah, and all that makes for a very interesting metal record. It's blown up on sites like Bandcamp, and I think for a good reason. It's very well deserved. Moving on to my number 17 pick, we have Death's dynamic shroud and their album Darklife. This is one of the most interesting glitch pop, vaporcore this year, and probably any recent year when it comes to vaporwave and glitch pop and anything that sort of fits in between. Nobody just quite does it like these guys when it comes to production, when it comes to like artistic vision, when it comes to like pretty much everything else. Really pretty incredible, a memorable listening experience. And with that, let's move on to my number 16 pick, which is Crest by Bladee and Echo 2K. Like, the collaborative effort between these two might just do enough for me. It might just have turned me into a Drain Gang music enjoyer, because like individually I'm not quite as into their music as I would like. However, when these two comes together, they seem to bring the best out of each other and bless us with a project that I think I will be just spinning for quite a while to come. To number 15 with another banger packed project. This is a Japanese girl punk band that's been dropping just really great, high energy and hard hitting punk music that has quite a bit of personality, that is quite cute, that is just the kind of punk music that I enjoy a lot. This album is also a very short and sweet listen, clocking in at 20 minutes, so it's such an easy listen and such an easy recommendation for me this year too, when it comes to punk music and female vocals, if that's what you like. At number 14, I will have Chad Pyle and their album God's Country, because man, first of all, the cover is fire, but that's also the case for pretty much everything else on here. Although the cover is extra fire on this thing, goddamn. But as for the music itself, it's just the subject matter pretty depressing, not gonna lie. Am I abusing the word depressing? Yes, I'm gonna abuse it for as many times as I like, maybe musically, sonically, instrumentally, however you'd like to refer to it. It's a metal album. It is noisy, it is sludgy, it is hard hitting, and my god, is it thick. So when you combine like a thick ass sounding, hard hitting, and packed with noise metal record, and you give me some pretty thought-provoking lyricism, then you get yourself a deal. You're gonna get ranked pretty high on my list, although metal is not like my go-to genre or anything like that. A good metal album is a fantastic album nonetheless, right? Moving on to my number 13, we have Sudan Archives and her latest album, Natural Brown Prom Queen, because hell yes, this artist, she's got a lot of potential when it comes to pop music and, eclectic, just potpourri approach of making pop music, fusing together like multiple influences and genres, because this album has pretty much every great thing going on about it. It just has a bit of alternative R&B, some art pop, some soul, as well as some experimental hip-hop and trap. Her singing is on point. Her rapping is also not a slouch either. This artist is so talented. She's got a lot of potential. And oh my god, I can't believe I'm about to forget this, but the African music influence on this thing is pretty incredible, and I think is one of the unique parts about this album too. But yeah, this proves to be quite an interesting but rather difficult to talk about project for me, so I will just leave it at that. So yeah, give Miss Student a go. At number 12, I have Marchita by Silvana Estrada. This is just a beautiful, sweet, acoustic Latin project that it is such an easy listen. It is so organic. It is so, soothing, calming. It's just, the production is so pristine and so, it's caressing me. It's so sweet and beautiful, and I don't think I can recommend this thing enough to. The instrumentation can run a bit thin for some at times, but for me, I just appreciate the very sparsely composed moments where I can actually have some breathing room, because as far as folk music goes, that's how I like it. And I don't know what else to say. At number 11, Denzel Curry has to be one of the most talented, consistent artists out there when it comes to hip hop, because his album Melt My Eyes, See Your Future is easily one of his most mature, thoughtful, and layered work. Up to date, many incredible bars as well as beats. Love some of the trap bangers here on this album also. Admittedly, there are some tracks on this album that does not hit all that well with me, but still, that's just a few minor moments here. It's not a huge deal. It doesn't ruin the experience for me. Still a very strong album experience delivered from Mr. Denzel. Massive respect, and I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, we have gone through 15 albums of this list. That leaves the top 10 albums to go. We are entering the top 10 territory, baby. Top 10 time. It is hot here. It is packed with greatness here, and this for the top 10, just what are you even doing here? Just go check these albums out. Coming in at number 10, we have Kendrick Lamar and his latest release, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Long anticipated release from Mr. Kendrick most certainly did not disappoint. This album touches on a variety of personal themes such as childhood and general trauma, infidelity, celebrity worship, and all that, with jazz, R&B, and trap as well as soul elements tastefully incorporated into each track. The more pop oriented kind of songs on this thing aren't as hard hitting, comes off a bit underwhelming. It doesn't do enough for me both lyrically and instrumentally. However, this album, as an overall experience, is still very memorable. And if I were to be honest, I think a Kendrick Lamar experience is just always a very interesting and memorable experience. In terms of enjoyability, did it get more of that compared to some of my picks, on the lower top of my list? I don't think so, no. But as an experience, that makes me feel just a lot of things. That makes me feel human. That makes me feel goddamn, this is what it's like to be a music enjoyer. Then probably this Kendrick album, it comes so much higher than all of those albums. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It's Kendrick. What else can I say? This is not a great introduction to Kendrick Lamar's discography. If you ask me, that would be Section 80 or Good Kid, Mad City. This one is more like an album for hardcore Kendrick fans, or just Kendrick fans in general, who has already checked out all of his other previous release, but I guess I'm just saying the obvious here. But yeah, moving on to my number 9 pick, we have the band Black Country and New Road and their album Ants from Up There. To be honest, I'm not that crazy about this band, although this is probably many's album of the year, and I mean, this album has made it to my top 10, so it's not to say like, even though I'm not that crazy about the band, it's not like I'm not moved a lot by their music. This album is certainly like a lot more refined and a lot more, I don't know, it is an obvious improvement from their last album from last year, and I would say that I appreciate this record more than I enjoy it. But still, it's not to say that I did not enjoy this album. I did, but I just find that this album is very slow, and I guess it just forces my brain in this very introspective mood and state of mind, which I don't think that I like that. So, just to name a few things that I don't quite appreciate about this album. Still, with all that said, very few artists in this scene is making me feel and just admire this level of creativity and ambition when it comes to, the genre of rock music, when it comes to making rock sound just exciting and interesting and fresh. And this band is one of those rare few bands that does so. Lyrically, I don't get that much out of this album, but once I do try to read in a track, it is heart-wrenching, it is sad, it is, it makes me feel all sorts of things, but mostly sad things. And instrumentally, I think while this album is, it is slow, my remark on it still doesn't change. However, I think when it does come together, it sounds incredibly lush and just euphoric and, even uplifting in a way. While it is a very good release and even many's album of the year, it is just it still scores very high on my list because I appreciate it, I enjoy it, but it just does not deliver like this big enough of a blow that I would like to throw it all the way up the peak of everything. That's just my point here. It is awesome, but it's not like the best of the year for me. So yeah, don't get offended. And also, like, shortly after this release, the frontman Isaac has announced his departure from the band, which is really a sad thing to see, given how much of a pivotal role he had in the band before him just leaving. So it is fingers crossed that the band can still like move on from this sad turn of event and still come out with just interesting releases. Yeah, that's the best I can hope for these people. So yep, coming in at number 8, I have I Love You Jennifer B by Jockstrap. Like, this talented pop duo has delivered easily one of the more interesting and like mind-altering glitch pop, art pop, folktronica releases of this year. In terms of musical ideas, this album is all over the place, but I guess that's a good thing. Just love how all over the place this album is. I don't try to read into the lyrics for this album as much, but it is certainly interesting when I try to anyway. It's just hard for me, honestly, to pin down what these guys are trying to do, and it is hard to actually understand these guys' artistic vision. But still, it is such an insane project that I can't help but be wildly impressed by. I'll pretty much leave it at that. I do recommend this project quite a bit if you like something that is all over the place yet still sounds absolutely incredible. At number 7, we have the band Petrol Girls and the album Baby. Like, what scores this album so high on my list is probably its timing. Like, it drops in a time when the whole abortion thing, the whole pro-choice, pro-life thing is very relevant, and this has some very interesting, like, I guess, social, political commentary too, which I always enjoy when, you know, that stuff is done well. If it isn't whack, you know, instrumentally, this thing is wild. It is so freaking distorted, noisy, so loud. The aggressiveness and the vocal performances are all very just pummeling. And yeah, this album, I don't want to say anything much else about it. It's just a great album. And alright, coming in at number 6 will be Cave World by Viagra Boys. This album is just single-handedly converted me into a Viagra Boys fan because of how much I love the messages on this album, the social commentary, the you know, things these guys have to say about life and society in general. Instrumentally, I don't think this album offers like the most hard-hitting style of rock ever, but I do think that the synthesizers here just add a lot of grooves and playfulness to the record, and everything else is just so freaking well done. Like, I have no complaints even when this album isn't like the most mind-blowing for me instrumentally, you know. But you know, with that combined with a very strong core message, this is just one of those top albums, one of those memorable albums for me this year, and I don't want to say anything else. Just go check this one out. Alright, we are closing in on the top dogs of 2022. This is my top 5. I think these records just worth every bit of attention, every bit of love and support from music fans. Let's proceed with caution, because these albums will just blow your freaking minds, and you're gonna have to pick everything back up after experiencing them. Alright, at number 5 I have Black MIDI and their newest record, Hellfire. The band's just blessed us with yet another fantastic release. Their album last year was one of my favorites. This one also is no exception. It is chaotic, it is brutal, it is very complex and technical. Sometimes I just wonder how the hell they just managed to play certain parts in, you know, in certain songs. And yeah, it's just one of a kind jazz rock band that you should probably check out if that sounds like the kind of music you're into. This album, oh my god, I don't want to say too much about it. I'll just say that it is that good, and you will have to check it out for yourself to see whether or not I'm correct. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And moving in at number 4, this is probably the best Latin record this year, by Natalia Lafourcade, I think is how it's pronounced. I'm sorry, my Spanish, it's a no-go. But yeah, the album is De Todas, Las Flores. It is such a romantic, beautiful Latin, I guess, folk record. It is in some ways similar to Marchita, except I think this one just, it sounds way more adventurous, and that's what puts it higher than Marchita, because while Marchita is a soothing, soul-calming record, this thing is just, it has a sense of like adventure to it that I love. I love adventurous music. I love music that gives me the sense of just progressing forward and, you know, reaching somewhere, and this album does exactly that. Not only so, this album is musically, instrumentally very nuanced, very detailed. The production is just pristine, and it's not I guess overproduced. It does not sound clean, you know, like overly clean and sterile and anything like that. It is clean but very smooth and sweet, and you can just make out every little detail. in the record. I cannot say much else because I don't know freaking Spanish, but I can imagine that the songwriting when it comes specifically to the lyrics cannot be bad. I'm so bad with descriptive language, and I will just leave it there. This album, it is every bit deserving of a top 4. It is incredible. Just when it comes to Latin music, you won't get much better than this. So yeah. And at number 3, it is the band Big Thief and their album Dragon Worm Mountain, I Believe in You. This album, I think it's easy to see why it's good. It's like a warm and comforting listen. The warmth and comfort, it is pretty much unmatched by anything else this year, and probably by many other albums that comes years before, honestly. Yeah, this album is not meant to be listened in just one sitting. You're just gonna put on the music whenever you are free, whenever you want to relax, you wanna just sit down and I guess put up your feet and let the music comfort you. It is so good at doing that. The music is so down to earth, it's so organic, it's so human, it is just a lot of warmth and humanity. I just feel like the band just tries to embrace every soul that puts on their music and trying to give them a most comfortable and I guess down to earth time as possible. And yeah, that's my take on this thing. It is my top freaking 3, baby. Top 3. It is good. Mountain, Dragon Worm Mountain, I Believe in You. Yeah, I do. I actually believe in you too, bruh. And with that, let's move on to the 2 best record of this year. Starting with Jid and his fantastic The Forever Story. I mean, Jid, the man's got talent. Each project he's released has been better and better. This one is no exception. Fantastic bars, fantastic beats, banger after banger after banger after banger, track for track is just fantastic. Like, when a project is so, I guess, obviously good in my mind, I don't even know what else to say about it. So freaking just well done, you know? So yeah, just what the hell are you doing? If like there's only one hip hop project that you will be listening to this year, then I'm sorry, I don't want to be an asshole here, but probably this one. And that leaves us with the number 1 spot. And for that, I'll be picking an album, a hardcore album, a hardcore pick, hardcore album of the year. Just, it is hardcore, it is hard hitting, it is amazing, and that is the album Diaspora Problems by Soul Glow. The more I listen to this album, the more I just appreciate its very unhinged, it's very aggressive, and it's just very high energy, like vocal performances. What it tries to deliver here is not something dumb, something superficial, something stupid, but it offers like problems. It offers like a look into like just real problems, like real life things that you can easily find yourself in every day, whether it's like mental health issues, just society problems, and you know, all that. But instrumentally, this thing is also very, very hard hitting too, because like it's a punk record. It draws influences from like just the 80s punk scene, and it does so very tastefully. It does have its own uniqueness. I have not heard something this unhinged, this loud, this pummeling, and just it's so emotional, because I cannot think of an album that's just this powerful for me. Like the winning factor that this album has for me, that I just want to pick it like over everything, is just the vocal performances. Really, like, you're telling me if you're gonna scream that hard, if you're gonna scream that passionately to me, like just a young dude who suffers from various mental issues, that's trying to find a purpose in life, that's just trying to make my way through every single day. You're trying to tell me that a band is trying to let me know that we feel your pain. We know that you're trying. We know that, these things, exist. We know that if you just try to cling on to life, if you're trying to push forth, you're gonna make it, and we're gonna just give you the material to do so. It just checks every box for me for what I look for from an album experience this year. It's just something at this level of passion, aggressiveness, and just its subject matters too. So yeah, that concludes it for my list. What do you guys think? I think this is a pretty decent list. Sure, there are albums that I would have loved to have seen here that I have not taken into consideration due to the very restricted size of my list, but I'm overall pretty happy, and I hope you guys are too. And that should be it for this video. Yeah, I've been Dat Boy, and music. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Yeah, and happy holidays, and just have a good rest of the year, and I'll see you soon. Dat Boy signing out. Ciao.